Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to various Sky Yoga practitioners all over the world. In this discussion, we are going to see the importance of imprints and life force. These are the primary principles of our Vedantri Maharishi. Many thanks to Dr. Rabindranath Taya and the team from the R&D who has taken all the pain in preparing this beautiful PowerPoint slides. Lots of animation and lots of hard work has gone into these slides. Let's dive into the presentation. To understand the life force particle, karma, etc., let us start from the basic. Basically, as we know from the Brahmanyanam principle, before the Big Bang, everything was just a powerful, energy packed Shivakalam without any activities. During that stage, the earliest particle formed because of the self surrounding pressure was named by Maharishi as divine dust particle. It is called as divine because it has no imprints and it is absolutely divine. It is called as dust because it is such a small particle. As you can see in these lower three pictures, the divine dust particles are just like dust which you are seeing in the air in the modern life. When the divine dust particles gets further concentrated because of the self surrounding force, they form life force particle. The difference between the divine dust particle and life force particle is life force particle is more focused and more strengthened, and these strengthened life force particles further form the life force in a human being. We are directly jumping from the life force particle to human being, but you can take it as per the Darwin's theory that life force particle has become a bacteria, virus, multicellular organism, then something like this insects, amphibians, lower animals, and then the man has come. So you can take it in that way also. So this last animation clearly demonstrates how the life force particle circulates. It goes from the lower chakras to the higher chakras. You can also appreciate the color change in the life force particle as it goes to the higher chakras. It's a very beautifully done animation. And these life force particles are the reason for a man's imprint. If I mention man in this presentation, it just means human being, including woman. How these divine dust particles formed from the absolute space? It is because of the self-compressing pressure force. In Tamil, Maharishi used to mention this as Soondaduthum Sakti. So in this animation, you can see that the absolute space is getting compressed in all the directions. It's not a flat circle, it's a sphere, and that compression results in formation of the dust particle. And since that dust particle has no imprints, we are calling it as a divine dust particle. So absolute space is endowed with surrounding self-compressing pressure force, which is everlasting and ever increasing. This results in progressive increase in the compressive force, and this force, when it crosses a critical level, the space is crushed into multiple tiny dust particles forming the dust. And these divine dust particles are the first and fundamental transformation of the space. In science, we can say that once the divine dust particle is formed, that's where the Big Bang starts, and then the initial star formation, everything forms. This divine dust particle is the first child of the space Almighty, and it's last to merge with the space, which is the connection between everything material to everything in the form of the Shiva Kalam. In the dynamic space, it is the closest to the divinity and retain the most of the qualities of the Almighty. So this you can easily understand. Since this divine dust particle formed from absolute zero, it has the quality of Almighty, and we should understand that during the meditation we reach the stage of absolute zeroness, which is the quality of the Almighty. And this divine dust particle pervades, spreads, permeates the entire dynamic state, which is called as Shakti Tal. So when it is quiet and zero function, it is Shiva Talam, and once it gets into dust particle and start permeating everywhere, it is known as Shakti Kalam. We can say this transformation in the modern world in the form of Big Bang. And this divine dust particle unites in space and matter, forming the Panchabhutas of land, water, air, fire, and space, as we all know. How the life force particle forms from this divine dust particles. As you can see from the top left picture, the divine dust particle vary in the size, spin velocity, frequency, and wavelength. When they start spinning, the faster spinning divine dust particle encircles the slower one. The slower one will be in the center, while the fast spinning will be surrounding that. When this spinning happens, the association of the divine dust particle forms life force particle. So life force forms when there are slow circulating particles in the center and fast particles in the periphery. This is similar to the nature of the galaxy, where the slow circling ones will be in the center and the fast ones are in the periphery. So this is one principle. We can say that அண்டத்தில் இருப்பதுதான் பிண்டத்திலும் இருக்கிறது. And in this picture, we can clearly see that the slow particles are in the center. In fact, the absolute center of the life force particle is immobile, just like an axis in a wheel. As we go out, we can see the particles are slowly getting the momentum, and the fastest is in the outside. Life force particles are arranged according to the gradient in the velocity, and the least velocity is nearer to the center, as demonstrated by white dot or the black area, while fastest one is in the periphery. The outer bands have got high speed and they have lesser life force particle. As you can see, we can see more color than the particles, and they have high interparticle distance. As we go inside, you can see that the life force particles are very tightly packed, and it has low spin, it's moving very slowly, and it has got high density. There are lots of particles in a particular cubic area, and the low interparticle distance, you can see the particle distance are quite low. So by this, what you can understand is, if a person is able to follow the yogic practices and improve the high dense life force particle in the center to grow, he will have much more stronger biomagnetism, stronger defense against the disease, etc. But if a person has got lots of thoughts happening, and if he has lots of life force particle as in this peripheral region, then there is no cohesiveness. These life force particles can easily escape from a person's body. That results in the weakness and loss of energy. We can see that much more better in the next pictures. So when the life force particle is weak, the divine dust particles can escape out of the life force particle. We can take this life force particle as a man or a woman. When the life force particle is intense, we can see that the highly mobile life force particles are less, while concentrated dense life force particle, the black color, is much more stronger. So when we meditate, the center part, which is like dense life force particle, high biomagnetism and less mobile, calm area we are developing. While a common man in the road who is really toiled by the day to day activities will be having less calm area and more vibrant area, which results in more thoughts and more confusion, unhappiness, miserliness, everything. And you can even see the frequency. The outer ones are of very high frequency, beta, alpha, theta, while the innermost one is more of the deep turiya thitam meditative frequency like delta. So the life force particle in a common man will be like this: less delta and theta, more of alpha, and predominantly occupied by beta. So life force particle in yogi will be less of beta and predominantly heading towards theta if not delta. And you can see the calmness in this life force particle. So life force is nothing but the association of the life force particle that travel within the body. And because of this life force, the body is living. When this life force is not functioning, we will say that the body is dead. The life force particle, the main origin and the circulation happens in the chakras. Life force particles move in an orbital fashion in all possible directions, reading through formation of three-dimensional life force that forms the overall pranic energy. And we can even now photograph this pranic energy or the astral body by Kirlian photography technique. The free life force particles in Akash in a living being is quite independent and not involved or integral to operate the life force. So, if a person has got a very calm life, he will be having a strong, less mobile, more dense life force particle in the center. Formation of magnetism in life force particle. What is important is this orbits as it expands, it moves away from the center area, losing significant amount of divine dust particles to the periphery. When the divine dust particle return back to the life force particle as it moves from faster zone to the slower zone, the pathway gets compressed, shortens, and when it comes to the center, genetic center point, the divine dust particle becomes more concentrated. Significance of this process in which the life force particle dips into this intensified slow zone of genetic center is important in producing the feelings, thoughts, etc. The life force particle get energized and potentiated near the center of the genetic center, and expansion of the orbit results in increased momentum and speed. With time and slowing the speed of the divine dust particle, slowly they dissolve, they merge with space and transform into magnetism. This is how a man's karma is getting exhibited in the form of the biomagnetism. How the life force particles are distributed in a human being? As you can see in this picture, the fastest life force particles connect to the periphery of the body where the organs of Jnanendriyam or Karmendriyams are available. The medium life force particles are relatively in the center. That's where the mind works. And between the mind and the innermost bliss zone is the Vijnana Maya. And the slowest one is in the center, genetic center, which constitutes the bliss zone. That's where the darkness of the wheel, as we have seen before. And this picture shows the 3D view of where the center with the dark or the delta waves and the life force particles are circulating around that. So the life force particle circulating happens around a man like that. If a person has got good biomagnetism, they will be having quite strong astral body constituents. So in this, we can see that compared to a common man, how a yogi has got more of low density, low frequency, high density life force particles. So you can easily understand from this beautiful animation, a common man will be having multiple thoughts running around, lots of things happening in the same time, while those who are trying to start the meditation, beginners, they will have little bit of less frequency and you can see some calmness. When there is a consistent yoga practitioner, they will get much more larger delta and theta area, while an enlightened person will be having absolute absence of the outermost fast moving life particle. So this is how, when a person is becoming a consistent yoga practitioner, he will be only an observer and he will not impact the observation. While if somebody becomes enlightened, there is only observer, there is no observer is existing. The only whatever happening is just happening without the presence of the observer. This is what the principle explained in Vedantam also. What are the imprints? The imprints are forming in the living beings with all the experience to our five sense organs: skin, ear, eye, tongue, and nose. So, if you can think, without these five sense organs, no way we will get any inputs from outside. So, these are the five doorways to a human. These experiences are recorded in biomagnetic waves as a Xerox with the characteristics of specific vibrations, frequencies, and wavelength. So, if you hear something good, it is recorded in the genetic center just like a photograph, just like a Xerox copy, and it will get reproduced whenever there is a need. The biomagnetic wave has taken the Xerox copies of the experiences and they proceed in the circulation in body towards the genetic center. When the thoughts enter the genetic center, because of dipping into the genetic center, they got energized and they exhibit outside as our actions. The density of the field of biomagnetism progressively increases as it approaches the center, which is the genetic center. If somebody has got a strong, clear, pure genetic center, because of this life force particle getting nicely dipped into the strong magnetism, they will be having a much more control on what they are exhibiting and they won't be dependent on the feeds coming from the sense organs. This leads to the compression of the biomagnetic wave and its shrinkage almost to a dot. That is what the dot you saw in one of the picture with a white dot in the center of the genetic center. The shrinkage of the biomagnetic wave also compresses it like a Xerox copy, as we have seen, and it forms multiple magnetic knots. Ultimately, they become folded, crushed, compressed, and the images get separated from the parent biomagnetic wave. And this magnetic cord knots can stay there for throughout the life, or we can even say it is taken to multiple lives. This separation takes place in the region of the interface of the genetic center. Just the genetic center, which is present predominantly in the chakras, but in the essence present in all the cells of a body, helps in keeping the imprints throughout the life and also for multiple life, depending upon which one you believe. The life force particle, which is spinning, which with genetic center, it grows, it matures, it dissolutes, it takes the characteristics of the genetic center. The role played by the life force particle in a life force is the blueprint for the whole body. So in a genetic center, if a man has the ability to form into a diabetes or a cancer, the life force particle is trying to exhibit it because it is getting nicely fed by the genetic center. So the life force particles can be divine and mundane. It can have strength and weaknesses. There are multiple functions available for the existence, and the genetic center of a life force particle is the most important one we need to understand, because the whole kaya kalpa and meditative exercises are to purify and strengthen the genetic center, and it helps in giving you the living being a very beautiful life. In the next half of the discussion, we will go through the experiences of the living beings, how the imprints produce the information, how the imprints further affect a man's life, how the imprints are stored at the interface, how the biomagnetism helps in a human, and cause and effect system. We will see them in detail in the next part. வாழ்க வளமுடன்.